Yes, I'm going live. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to
Hey.
Discussing Tabletop.
It's me.
It's Lightning, our special guest. It's Joe, who's our normal person who joins me. It's
I'm not normal.
You have me as Worm?
well, the thing is, normally I'm using the background where we used to have Worm, and I'm just lazy, so I put you over top of it.
Okay, so yeah.
Let me just adjust it a little bit more so it's less Worm. There you go.
Alright, okay, cool. So, yeah, I'm
You know, this is
I'm
like
here.
the first time he's joined us.
It's the second or third time
Look,
now.
I'm just saying, I haven't made new backgrounds for the show in like a couple of years.
That's
Is
fine.
it so hard to change a name?
It is not. Well, I would have to change the background because the names are in the background.
You can just put me over in the corner, it's fine. I mean, I am dead.
No one puts baby
No.
in the corner.
Here, what I could do. I could do this.
Oh no, what's going on now?
Text.
You're gonna change it on the fly?
Lightning.
Alright, cool.
And it can be background in. Why can't I change the color?
Make it blue. I like blue. Now that I'm making demands. I am the guest. I demand all the things.
There we go. LightningDragon.
Uh,
Now can I change the color?
You know what you get?
No, apparently not.
You get death.
So apparently, for whatever reason,
I'm still covering the name.
in OPS.
Well, now you have a name above your head.
Yeah.
Oh, I do? Oh, okay. Alright, awesome.
It's underlined too, which ours
Nice.
isn't.
So this is perfect. Just great.
But I don't know why
have
I
not
can't
slept
change
very
the
much
color. Why is this terrible in normal OBS? In OBS Studio it works, but I've never switched Discussing Tabletop over because reasons.
That's probably fine.
Because raisins?
Because reasons. One of these weeks I really should switch it over.
What about
and now
craisins?
we're leaving Earth for no reason?
Yeah, exactly.
What
Alright,
about craisins?
so... Is there a phone near me? I think there's a phone in the... Okay, my niece probably left the phone in the hall for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
You're just like, oh, so, and then like the silence is immediately interrupted by the phone ring.
I'm like,
So just
why is there a
and-
phone nearby? All the phones are downstairs. What's going on?
Not at the moment.
No.
This is fine. Everything's fine here.
I also spaced that so badly because I switched to Savage Worlds new play. Oh no, here we go. Docket. Pathfinder for Savage Worlds, which is basically Savage Worlds with the Pathfinder world, I think. I'm not sure. That's what I kind of read into. There's a new playtest for Pathfinder that they're only hinting at us and being secretive about. They're actually
weird.
Yeah. Pathfinder's listing its compatible product list, which is really nice because they never do that up until now. They're releasing new materials in weird ways that are not Unearthed Arcana and different from the way they kind of do
totally
it.
different.
Totally different.
Not at all the same.
Well,
Not at all the same.
it
talk
wouldn't
about
be Unearthed Arcana because it's not the same company.
Yeah. That's not what I mean. But anyway, we'll go for that. And then Cyberpunk Cyberpunk Red Skirmish game. We're talking about stuff today. Anyway, yeah, let's...
What about things?
I don't know. Let's
stuff.
talk about the things and stuff of Paizo because they're being weird. I don't know. So let's start with Savage Worlds because I've known of the Savage Worlds system a little bit. I think we've talked about stuff on it, but I'm unsure.
I feel like you have.
Yeah, but I'm also unsure why they need the Pathfinder for Savage World core rulebook, which includes an adaptation of Savage World's game mechanics for players to make evolved characters and for game masters. Is it that they're bringing Savage World stuff into Pathfinder or bringing Pathfinder stuff into Savage Worlds?
I got Savage World in my Pathfinder.
Sure. Oh god. It's
You
not
got Pathfinder in my Savage World.
I'm Officer Pathfinder. What happened here?
And I'm Officer Chocolate?
No, because I think it was Officer Reese's. It was the joke.
Sorry, it was Officer Reese.
Yeah.
I mean, you know the reference.
I knew the reference.
I just had to go, I'm Officer Chocolate?
Yeah. Okay.
Or
Wait. So,
Savage Worlds, I thought I knew what it was, but I think I had it confused with another game that's really dark, where like you're humans in like an apocalypse setting and you fight monsters, including a lion. And it's like,
And
I
tigers.
think that's a
and bears.
different game.
Oh my.
it
But
might
I have
not
played
be.
Deadlands, and I don't like. I was thinking about this before we started. I don't like being mean or whatever about stuff, but I didn't like Deadlands. I thought it was not great.
I think some of the system of Deadlands is just that the system is very unusual, and the entire use of playing cards is like a neat gimmick, but I'm unsure if the Savage Worlds RPG system is the same at all.
I don't think
It's
so.
by Pinnacle Entertainment Group.
Yeah. Savage Worlds is a generic RPG system, so that's the thing about it.
It might just be another D20 system.
Let's see here. It's supposed to emphasize speed of play and reduce preparation over realism and detail. Character creation. They have a built using point allocation system. So it's a point allocation system.
Oh.
Great. Statistics include race, traits, edges, hindrance, and sometimes powers.
Oh man, if you read the attributes thing, it's like healing is smarts-based skill. If a character has a smarts at level 1, it's a 4-sided dice or a D4. So it like the dice scale up like as you have more ranks in them. I think I've heard. Maybe you have talked about Savage Lands because that sounds familiar.
I had smarts.
Yeah. It's like dice are used to determine the outcome of an action or interactions. Usually a trait die is rolled against a larger number of 4. If the roll equals or exceeds the target number of the action, sees otherwise fails. I mean, it's like, it's dice for something, and I guess it depends on what you're doing. I don't know if it's got, like, if it's more like Earth Dawn, where it's got, like, tiers of dice or something, or dice for different
It also has
assets.
exploding dice, too, where if you max number, you can roll it again.
The thing is, though...
Yeah, Pinnacle's page has an announcement about it, too, about the
I saw
Pathfinder
that.
role-playing game for Savage World.
The thing about it is, like, I look at this and I'm like, I don't feel like the systems are necessarily compatible on their own, especially if we're talking about Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Certainly not. I wouldn't want to fuck around with trying to make that compatible with anything, because it's like, it's new. And
I wonder if it's more of a lore then, like the world and less
yeah,
the systems.
it might be.
Okay, here we go. The Pathfinder Savage Worlds core rulebook will include adaptation of the Savage Worlds game mechanics for players to make and evolve characters for the game masters to create games of their own design for the Pathfinder world of Galarian. The separate purchase of the Savage World core rules is not necessary to play.
So it's
So
just
they are adapting everything, it looks like.
It seems
So
like
you-
it's going to be more Savage Worldsy.
Yeah, Savage Worlds rules in the Pathfinder,
In the Pathfinder
setting.
universe, yeah.
Yeah.
And adapted because it is a generic system more towards what, like, a Pathfinder would have. And I'm sorry, the box set is weird because it includes a core rulebook, beanies, action deck, templates, game master screech with adventures, power cards, and more. Beanies?
Beanie Babies are making a comeback?
I don't know what beanies
Or
are supposed
maybe
to be.
hats.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, it's the hat. Yeah.
Why do you need hats? That's what I was thinking. I was thinking hats. Why do
You
need
have a
hats?
DM hat and you have a player hat. You know.
Maybe you have a hat for each class.
There you go.
It seems like they're also just trying to make it like that they don't have to have original ideas, because the fact is, it seems like they're adapting Rise of the Rune Lords for this yet again. This is like the third version of Rise of the Rune Lords, because Rise of the Rune Lords, if people don't know, originally came out for 3.5.
Oh gee.
Yeah. Pathfinder started their adventure paths back when it was still 3.5 before they made Pathfinder. Then they adapted it to Pathfinder. Then they made an anniversary edition which combined all 6 of them into a book that like had a couple of edits. And now they also have this one here. Also, the Pathfinder card game is based on Rise of the Rune Lords. So that's technically 5 count them 5 versions of Rise of the Rune Lords they've done. This is
But
the
the real
Skyrim of
question is-
Pathfinder.
Don't they also have a Pathfinder board one that's based off of it too?
Who knows? Maybe. God.
The real question is the Rise of the Rune Lords an actual good module / adventure path?
It's okay. I've played through most of it. I've gotten to we got to the 5th adventure when we were playing through it. I have to say it's not a bad one. It's very simple and traditional. Involves a lot of dungeon crawls, a little bit of investigation mechanics. Nothing necessarily new because it was the first one they did. They weren't trying for experimental, which is it's good in certain ways, but it's also like it's simplistic.
I feel like the closer you stick to traditional D&D, the more a DM has to inject their own world into it, as opposed to like, you go and talk to this judge. This is what the judge will talk about. This is your task you get from the judge, as opposed to, hey, there's a dude who's being evil, and he probably lives over in this cave area. Go deal with it.
Well, it's like, it's not a spoiler, but like, it Rise of the Rune Lord, it's like the first 5 minutes, it's like, goblins attack the town you're in. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like, what do you guys are there, and you're kind of heroic, you know? What do? We go save people, you know, and then you get involved.
That may be stereotypical, but that's a really easy, good setup.
Yeah,
As opposed to like, you happen to all walk into a tavern at the same time, and there's a dude here who's going to give you a quest. It's like, that's the most tired, overused trope, and it doesn't make sense, because if you allow characters, or rather players, to make their character, and you don't just give them a sheet saying, this is your character's motivations, you know, people make weird things.
I have to say, the Pathfinder 2nd Edition Adventure Path is kind of bad like that one, the first one. Because the thing is, it's like, the call of heroes. That's what you show up for. It's like this entire thing where they're like, hey, there's going to be a big town hall meeting, and we're calling for, you know, for like a major city, you know, and like one of their like big forums, and we're calling for heroes, and you show up, and then it's the fire in the thing from Carrion Crown. It's the exact same thing they do. It's just as bad as that one, if not worse, because instead of just having it that there's a fire that spreads, they're like, oh, by the way, you're level 1, and there's also now a fire method causing extra fire. Fuck all you guys.
Were we level 2 at that time?
We were, and the flaming skulls didn't cause any fire. The fire just was there. It burst into flames in a couple of places. This is like method with fire breath that starts extra fire squares, and it's like...
Yeah, it was annoying.
It was so annoying.
So speaking of how adventures start, in the Neverwinter Nights video game done by Atari, I think it was, you start off in that by joining... like the town militia kind of thing. Like you are that's what your character did, because they're trying to do something. I forget exactly what. It's been years since I played through, and also the story in that the first adventure was really hit and miss. And then it gets attacked, and you kind of have to defend yourself, and you're like one of the last survivors. So they put a lot of like, well, this person was obviously badass enough to survive this horrible, experience. And so they kind of like put you in charge of something, because it's like, clearly you are capable of at least surviving.
Well, it's like with Rise of the Rune Lords. It's like after you defeat the goblins, you're like, oh, you guys are town heroes because you were some of the major people that stood up and helped protect a bunch of people. Hey, you know what? You've done really good here. We need our town guard to guard in case they come back. Can you guys, because you've specifically been there and good in fighting goblins, go check out where they came from and see if you can take care of the problem? Thank you.
No, screw you guys, I'm going home.
I mean, it is like a logical expansion of like, I guess we already did that. We might as well continue to help out, but
Yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, so I mean, Rise of the Rune Lords, it's not bad, but like, I don't know.
Maybe this 5th iteration will be better.
Yeah. They're planning retail releases in the 4th quarter next year, and they're going to use a Kickstarter to launch a bunch of this stuff, it looks like. Early next year. I think some of it will release beyond the Kickstarter, but things like the Rise of the Rune Lords will be part of the Kickstarter, and probably with that you could probably have extras of the book and stuff. I'm just going to be curious as to how much, because it sounds like it's mostly Savage Worlds, how much Pathfinder they're injecting into it. And are they injecting first edition Pathfinder or second edition?
I mean, it kind of feels like it's first, because otherwise they would like specify. I mean, I'm reading ahead here a little bit for the show, but yeah.
Honestly, I think I have to agree. First edition is more compatible, is the weird thing. Second edition, I have to say, like, as I don't mind it as a system, now that I've played some of it, I feel like it is less compatible than, let's say, like, first edition. Because, like, if you look at, like, first edition Pathfinder, I can draw lines between that and 3.5, third edition. I can even draw lines between that and fifth edition. They are still very different. But when I
said like second edition, I was gonna make an elf joke.
Oh yeah, second edition probably too.
I'm playing an elf. Yeah. Well, what class is that? Elf.
Things like
it might be first edition, but yeah.
That was first edition when you had all the races that we know now were
classes.
Because you could also be a dwarf.
You always wanted to play an elf. The statistics
wasn't
needed to
elf like archer or ranger basically?
No. Elf was fighter
was
and
a
wizard.
Fighter wizard.
Oh.
It was the best class that you could do. But the thing was, you had to roll randomly for your stats, and you had to have them high enough stats to actually qualify to be an elf.
Oh, jeez. I mean,
and it was
that's an interesting way if you're rolling for stats. You have to kind of like Shadowrun where you have to qualify for
this was the
race.
age of 3d6 down the line.
It was down the line too, so you couldn't place them.
And it's just 3d6, so you have 3 to 18s.
Oh, because there's no drop lowest.
No,
oh yeah. Oh,
and the wizard just kind of suck.
We are so spoiled for modern D&D. Just saying.
Wizard sucked because you got one spell
at first level.
Per
adventure.
It wasn't even. It was per adventure, not per session. Per adventure.
Yeah, that's where like the joke for the wizard is like, I cast a spell and then I pull out my crossbow.
Yeah, oh god, it was just so bad. And the thing was also
for a second as well.
Well, no,
I think it did a little bit. I can't remember exactly.
It's not much better, but better.
No.
But the other thing was, they also got you did not get as much experience.
You had to have more experience to level up because everybody had different experience. You had your one spell, and afterwards you could stick them. Honestly speaking, though, if you could live as a wizard and go into much higher levels, you were probably much more powerful than a fighter.
Oh, at the higher levels, yeah, but you had to survive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the XP for levels was still a thing in third edition. Like, depending on what, like, if you were playing a super advanced race or if you were multi-classing, you would take like experience penalties.
But that was because you were doing something abnormal.
I mean, experience penalties were one thing because it kind of made a little bit more sense. But, like, it was, like, even in second edition, they were still doing, like, your rogue only needs, like, 1,000 to level up, while your fighter needs 2,000, and your wizard needs, like, 5,000 to get second level. It's like,
and you get a limited amount of the spells, so good luck with that.
Was that also in the era of the D4 hit die for wizard?
Yes.
Yeah. They didn't change that until 5th edition?
4th edition, they did upgrade it. 4th edition.
Okay, well,
and Pathfinder upgraded it. Yeah.
Yeah, Pathfinder did. But it's like, playing a wizard sucked in early
It did. Oh, yeah. You could do cool things, but you were so screwed over at very early levels. But yeah, so I feel like first edition is probably what they're going to be more basing it on. I think I would like to take a look at the book when it comes out, and like it's supposed to be coming out January, I think, or soon. I don't know the exact dates because the Kickstarter is planning to launch January 2021, and that's when they're talking about the Rise of the Rune Lords box set. I don't know if the other stuff will be part of a Kickstarter. I think it will. So it'll all be Kickstartered probably together. I guess?
I would think that it's basically just going to be the Rise of Rune Lords book with the Savage Worlds rules. That's kind of what I feel like it's going to be.
They might put out the core rulebook and their box set separately during that time period, sort of as the release of it. Like, here's the stuff. Now here's the big, like, Kickstarter that goes along with it. They might do split, you know? They might do split. But
or have, like, a early release of certain things when they're done or something. Because, like, when you make things that are physical, it takes longer.
Sometimes these announcements, because they're like, we had this surprise announcement of this back on Thanksgiving Day. When? I didn't see this. It wasn't on Paizo's site. I go to Paizo's site for, like, news and stuff and check their, like, articles and stuff every time I'm doing research. And I'm like, this did not show up. When did you talk about this?
Maybe they made also maybe the announcement was made on the other side first.
It could have been on the other side first. On Pinnacle's site.
Pinnacle's side.
If I didn't check Pinnacle's site, because I don't think I do normally.
Why would you? That's weird. Why wouldn't you not just check every single D&D media and tabletop franchise ever?
I have a list of about like about 24 major sites I check, and then I have 2 like combined news sites that I use to get articles from too. And between those, I usually find enough to like come up with topics for the show that are usually the major announcements. But things slip through the cracks. I say that all the time, but.
So the next thing.
Yeah, that's
here.
That's here.
I mean, I obviously have been linked all the things to read, and I went to this when I was looking at them, and I'm like, all right, Tantus, what am I reading from here? Because it's just talking about a day.
Yeah, this is the interesting thing is. No, this is the weird thing. Now, I've talked about how like I have enjoyed that Pathfinder has been much more playtesty. You know. That's one of those things. They have been, like, as much as, like, 5th edition was good for Unearthed Arcana, I feel like Pathfinder in 2nd edition has taken a step farther, as they put out playtest versions of a lot of their books, that they're like, this isn't the final version, you can test it out, here's a bunch of information in it. That's really cool. So it is kind of like the Unearthed Arcana, except rather than 1 month release, they're doing it for many of their major books. And, you know, they're taking a step farther. This is just a weird one. That they're like...
It's like, hey, we're releasing 2 classes for you to play, and it'll be January 5th through February 5th.
You don't know when? I'm like, why are you teasing us?
You don't know what?
Yeah, you don't know what 2 classes? And then people are like, let the theorizing begin.
I mean,
like,
this is
but you could just tell us what the classes are?
You could just tell us and give us a date. I mean, this is just like, what is with the tease?
So, like, with video
Why?
games... When video games are announcing things, there's a real easy way to guess if it's the regular traditional like AAA thing. Is like teaser trailer means this long before release. Release trailer means this long before release, and then like you get like another one that's like, oh, it's around the corner, like a week or something. So you can kind of guess when things are going to release by that. When you're doing the game development stuff, normally what you do is you make the entire game, and then you put the game together, and then you bug test it. That's traditional game building things. So. Are they making a bunch of classes all at the same time? And then when January rolls around, they go, oh crap, we need to pick 2 of these, and they'll pick the 2 that are most done, and then be like, these were the 2 all along.
I don't know. It sounds just as bad as it. And the fact is, I don't even know if the playtest for their like, what is it? It's not Ultimate Magic, because that was the 1st edition book, but it's effectively the same thing. They have, like, something with, like, the Summoner and the Magus and stuff, their new book, which they were playtesting it around now, and I'm not sure if that playtest is over. So I'm like, you already had a playtest going, and I'm like, I'm glad that you want to playtest more stuff, but this is a stupid way of doing it? I mean, really, it's... Do they have just, like... Because, like, you know, 1st edition, they had a lot of weird classes and stuff. Like, by the end. Like, I'm sorry, like, now that I've gone back to 1st edition and I've been doing it, since we've been talking about, because Lightning's in my 1st edition game, like, there's a list of, like...
I play a fox.
half a dozen classes that weren't around the last time I played Pathfinder a couple of years ago. And I'm like, you put out more stuff before 2nd edition. These are weird. Like a Vampire Hunter, because they put out a Vampire Hunter D book, because I don't know why. Or the Shifter, or like there's like an Ufuru or something. I can't remember how to exactly say it. I'm like, where the hell did these come from? Why did they appear? They're base classes. What? I thought like the kineticist and their shit was weird enough as it was. All that their
kineticist is, I mean, it's probably the easiest one out of all those crazy ones. Psychic, I could probably learn, but it's really weird. And if you're gonna do that, just play a sorcerer with the psychic background, the psychic bloodline, and save yourself a lot of headache. It's that simple. It's just like, all right, I only want a little bit of psychic abilities, because otherwise you have to learn almost a whole new game. I mean, the same with kineticist is how you cast. Is like, I hurt myself to use magic.
Oh god! Or the class that was the last one I remember to come out, Vigilante. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, you're just Batman.
You're just Batman. Why are you Batman?
It's Batman.
Oh god. You're putting bad memories back in my head.
Yes, of because I tried to play a game and someone was being a vigilante, and they tried to play it seriously to a degree, but they were like, okay, I'm gonna jump down this well and come back.
And wait, I'm gonna jump down this well that's in the middle of a tavern.
Yes, because it was the
as
well,
a rich dude.
Well, the well had gone dry, and so they needed space, so a tavern built itself over the well, and it's now a feature that you can have you can put a thing over top of it, so you can have as the special table for special events or something. But normally they leave it open as a a wishing well in the middle of it.
That people are gonna spit and throw up in there. It's a tavern. People get drunk.
Yes,
but it would be full of filth.
It would be.
And it would not be pleasant.
He's dressed as this aristocrat, jumps down a well that has no exit, and then pops back up as his vigilante, and it's that makes no sense.
He should have found a nearby telephone booth to make a phone call.
Oh no! The best part was when he accidentally killed someone. In the street by missing with a dagger.
Yeah, he rolled a 1 on a dagger throw out, and it was he was aiming towards a window to get someone in front of the window. And I'm like, okay, roll an attack roll, and he rolled a 19, and I'm like, that's a critical threat. Roll again. Okay, so there's a guy walking down outside, and the dagger just thwonks into his head. I was like, fuck.
Well, good thing he's got that secret identity.
I know.
Or he almost got himself killed because he broke into our room in his vigilante costume, which we didn't know him, so we all attacked him on that round.
It's some random man burst into your room.
And he broke through the window. He smashed through our window. It's like, oh god, we gotta kill this guy.
We're under attack.
Wasn't he down to only a couple hit points too? We almost actually killed him.
Mm-hmm. And then you blamed then the authorities showed up in your room because a dagger went flying out the window and killed someone from it. You're like, there was a crazy man who came in here. You should hunt him down. He ran out the window after breaking in.
And did we make some elaborate stories so that other cops are actually on the lookout for this guy?
Yes, he created another vigilante figure to be in the town, apparently. That's his rival or something.
Which was even worse because it's we're on a mission that we wanted to be kind of secretive and not have the authorities on alert. And now the authorities are on high alert.
That's why vigilantes are awful.
I am the knight.
I guess if you were an all vigilante game is the only way I think it could work. Because otherwise...
I mean, you might as well just be playing a different game at that point.
Yeah. Why do you have just a single person as a vigilante in a team of people? It's are you going around as your, do people know your secret identity, and then, you're going around as the aristocrat in town, and then you're, the vigilante when you're going on adventures? I mean, for town-based adventures, it feels like it could fit. If there's, a lot of, scouting, thievery, espionage kind of things, you could fit in any of those kind of things,
Yeah,
you could be go ahead.
If you were noble-y background kind of thing, that class makes a lot of sense, and especially if you're in a very diplomatic kind of game, because then it's kind of oh, I'm blah blah blah, the noble or whatever, and as a story hook, you could literally be hiring the party that you're also part of because you have the dual identity thing to do something, and then so your noble person, I would probably have them part of a family or whatever, right? But they're part of a noble house. They could be trying to get something done, and because they know about it on the noble side, and they can't really do anything, they're like, oh, screw it, I'll just assume an identity, and I want to help the people that were hired by the family or something. I could see that working. You had to make it and fit it into that kind of game, but it would work.
Yeah, it's like it couldn't. It's not that it couldn't work. It's just that it's much more difficult to work.
It's niche. It's very niche.
And unfortunately, that's one of those things that I feel like most Pathfinder classes aren't niche. Is the thing. Like, I think the Vampire Hunter is a little niche, but like I'd have to really like dissect their abilities to see if maybe they could fight other undead, and it would be okay in like a campaign that has undead, because usually there's plenty of campaigns that have undead at various reasons for various times.
Well, there's a lot of anti-undead classes. I mean, I'm assuming Paladin can still
Paladin can murder the crap out of them. Inquisitor could murder the crap out of them. A Ranger could murder the crap out of them. Cleric could murder the crap out of them. Undead, because they're the kind of common enemy for a lot of times. If you're not fighting like humanoids, that's kind of what you get. It's either like goblinoids or undead a lot of times.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, we have no idea what these two classes are going to be. It's probably not going to be one they've announced. The only one that I saw mentioned by briefly going through, like, the comments was someone did say Gunslinger, which, okay, Gunslinger they haven't talked about. There's a couple other one of those unusual ones. I don't think they would introduce the hybrid classes until they got everything established for a while. I
can pull up, I might still have my Pathfinder tabs open. Mm-hmm. I do, because why would you ever close? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11 tabs open with Pathfinder. One of them's the main page, because then it's easier to link off of that. But yeah, I mean, like, go in core classes or base classes, so like Barbarian, Bard, Cleric. The format is weird. I was going to say gods, but that's part of the subdomains. Druid, Fighter, Monk, Paladin, Ranger, Rogue, Sorcerer, and Wizard. After that, like you said, Magus, Inquisitor.
I think
Gunslinger.
Magus and Witch and Summoner are already out.
Alchemist?
Or are coming out. Alchemist
Maybe?
Was in the base book. Alchemist was in the base
really?
book.
Okay.
It was, yeah. The thing is, they added some things in very base book, which were really nice, like Alchemist. They changed Paladin to Champion, which makes a little bit more sense. It was like, it took me a little bit to get it, but it's sort of like, because Paladins have always been kind of lawful good. They're like, you're a champion of, like, a faith or something, now.
Yeah, because
you don't have to be the goody two-shoes of the group, and it's like, oh, God. Hey, look over that rustic architecture over there while we do this.
Cavalier, Inquisitor, Gunslinger are out.
I can't see Cavalier being,
It's very niche, though. Yeah, it's very niche. And then other than that, it gets into things like Shifter, Vigilante, some of the alternate and hybrid classes, and some of like the classes.
I
like
wouldn't
the
see Shifter as being one of them.
Shifter, like, it has an interesting theme to it, but it's like, I agree with you, it's like a weaker class. So
yeah,
I don't know. That's the thing is, like,
it's basically Druid, but only shapeshift.
Unless they came up with something new. Which I wouldn't be against them coming up with something new that works a little better, maybe instead of in first edition, in their second edition form. Because, again, like, second edition, I like it because it's rather than having, like, the archetypes and stuff, it's sort of like, at every time you would gain a class ability, you choose from a list. And the more things they add to the list, those more archetypes you have, and the more unique builds you can come up with. Now, sometimes one power leads to another, kind of things like that. But there are those of them you could just be like, oh, I take this, and now I have that. And I like, again, that's part of second edition. I like the character creation. I feel like they took their entire thing of options and boiled it down really good.
Yeah.
That's why
you also have to
sometimes
think,
rules...
not to play devil's advocate here, but you also have to look at second edition Pathfinder has been out for not even a year at this point.
No, I don't think so.
No. I mean, maybe it's getting close to a year now.
Yeah.
Where Pathfinder first edition has been out for how many? 10? 8?
Forever?
Yeah.
Well, they originally said they were never going to do a second edition.
Yeah.
But it makes sense that they would. But, like, they really should have, not to freaking put 5e on a pedestal because it's not perfect. They really should have 5e'd the game, and it kind of sounds like they did on some point or some extent.
They did
and
a.
then
I would call it.
at all.
Yeah, what I would call Pathfinder Second Edition is it's 4.5, if you're comparing it to D&D.
Oof.
Because it's like they took some good lessons from combined between their original edition and 5th edition, and then they experimented with some things, kind of like how 4th edition experimented with some things.
There's a reason why 4th edition isn't very popular.
4th edition, again, like I defend 4th edition to a degree. I liked parts of the game. I liked the character creation. I liked the game mechanics. I actually enjoyed the fact that it was this kind of like interesting actual role-playing game and board game mechanics. I just feel like the role-playing took a lot more work because like a lot of Pathfinder 1st edition, 5th edition, even Pathfinder 2nd edition, they have things that are like more role-playing related abilities your characters can have, and they like leave more options for it. Like especially if you talk about the storyline and stuff, where you're like doing things that you can like, even like the pre-made adventures, they leave places open where there is options for role-playing. In a very super mechanically driven game, and they write it out in a book, they don't have that because the game is so mechanical in 4th edition.
Yeah. I mean, from what I've understand, like I was literally watching about the 4th edition this morning.
Mm-hmm.
What it sounds like is 4th edition was going to be a online like extravaganza, and there was going to be a computer version that you could play. You'd like sign in, and you have your character saved online. And so it was
awesome.
very much designed to be a computerized version, which is why things are a lot more crunchy.
4th edition would have been great as a miniatures game or a computer game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
like
it wasn't a role-playing game, which it can't.
Yeah.
Like
mechanically role-playing.
A role-playing game.
Yeah. But it's like the partner they were working with to do the computer side. I mean, I don't remember exactly what the comments were, but like some not awesome stuff happened, and Wizards didn't have anybody to pick up the slack, and so they're just like, well, we made this system, we'll just release it. And apparently they made a fixed version. I don't remember the name of it, but it was like a 4th edition complete. I don't know. And it was the very last thing they released for it, which helped kind of remove, I guess, some of the computeriness of it. But by that point, pretty much everyone that was playing, like all the older fans or whatever, were like, yeah, we don't like this. We're just going to keep playing 3rd edition.
Well,
or like, switch over to Pathfinder.
Well, it's like, as I'm looking
That's what we did.
And seeing the background of it all, it's like, because 2nd edition kind of came out in 2008, and Pathfinder came out in 2009. So it's, in fact, 11 years old, original Pathfinder. 2nd edition
that wasn't very far off.
Yeah, 2nd edition actually came out in August of last year was when the full final release was put out for the core set. So it's been a little bit more than a year. The thing is, the entire idea of it is, which was very interesting, is the reason that Paizo switched over and made their own thing is because the open game license that was being used in 3.5 was going to be changed to something more restrictive in 4th edition. So it would have been harder to build stuff under it. So they stuck to the older open game licenses that were part of it, and one of the things they used that as a basis for creating their own system, which was the original Pathfinder. And I can see if, because that's kind of outdated and you can't evolve that much more, maybe that's why they've also taken steps to make Pathfinder 2nd edition much more evolved in their own thing. Because they're also not under the open game license anymore, which they really aren't.
Yeah.
They are their own system now. And that's why it's a lot more experimental. Which, again, I think is actually, that's the not bad part of it, is being experimental. But again, getting out from under that open games license means you got to make a lot of choices for yourself. You're not reliant on what the fuck happened in 3.5, and it's causing problems.
I mean, you and I and Umber have had very deep discussions about how we feel about the way like Pathfinder and 2nd edition and 5th edition all play.
Yeah.
And how 2nd edition should probably take more cues from 5th edition.
Yes.
Because I mean, going back to it, unfortunately, I really like 5th edition. But I came from third. I played third edition 3.5, so I'm used to the crunch that is Pathfinder. Though I never played with every 1,000 books that they had.
Yeah.
So it was really kind of easy to kind of jump back into Pathfinder, even though I've been mostly playing 5th edition. But some of the complaints people have with 5th edition is that you I'm going to quote Joe Cat, literally quoting him, where it's like you pick your your race, you pick your class, and you pick your archetype, and then pretty much everything is set for you. I'm directly quoting him here. And then the only options you have really is when like ASI comes up, you can take a feat. And I kind of understand where you're coming from that, because that's a lot of what it really is. But with 5th edition, it's kind of loose enough that it really promotes roleplay because it keeps the rules very simple.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easier to jump in and play, unless you're not a great DM. But that's a different topic.
And then the other thing is that all three of them have completely different scaling. Like 5th edition has very low scaling. 1st edition Pathfinder has a kind of, I would call it at this point in time, I call it medium scaling. Because, like when we talk about like, okay, 1st edition Pathfinder or like or 5th edition, like your impossible roll might be like a DC 30. I'd say. You think that?
Yeah, it's like 25 to 30 is like 25 to 30. Good luck.
Pathfinder, it's like 30 to 40. I'm sorry, Pathfinder 2nd edition, because of the way that the system works, I think the impossible roll might be even up to like 40 to 50. I'm not sure. Because the thing is, everything is based on it's like rather than like you have skill ranks or base attack bonus, it's like if you are good at something, you add your level plus a bonus. Like just being trained
like
at
proficiency.
Yeah, it's like it's your level plus 2 if you're trained at it. If you're an expert's level plus 4, and then I think it's like master level plus 6, and legendary's level plus 8. So if like your fighter, a level 20 fighter is going to get plus 28 before they add their strength or other bonuses to it.
And then magic items on top of that.
Yeah, which is a lot of magic items. Then you have your strength. Then you might have like feats or stuff that have given you bonuses because that's your build and stuff. So getting that's a plus
too many numbers.
40. Well, the thing is, that's Pathfinder was always like that. You had blah 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 and had a lot of numbers. So it's a lot of numbers, but it also means that like getting a plus like 40 makes sense at 20th level. So like a 40 to 50 DC, it doesn't sound out of the mind if that's what if you're trained towards that very heavily, But
I gotta wonder what you're fighting that you need to hit 40 DCs on. Gods? That's insane.
Everything scales, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
This is another one of the problems I have to say about 2nd edition, is it means that because of that same scaling, you are much more likely to be better against things of your CR, or whatever your challenge level is, I think they call it now, rather than things that are higher than you. And you will outshine your lower than you very much quicker. Yeah. Like, 1st edition and 5th edition, there is a little leeway in there usually, just for the nature of the system. I think 5th edition, I do have the thing of, like, things feel tanky sometimes when you're fighting them. It makes it feel like you need a lot more hits. Pathfinder, it feels more quick and deadly a lot of times, depending on the battle. This, it feels like you want to fight stuff at your level, because if it's not at your level, it's going to outshine you very quickly because it's going to have, like, if you're level 10 and it's level 13, it's getting plus 13 instead of plus 10 to everything. It's a vast difference already. So
it's interesting that you bring up the tankiness, because I never played 4th edition, but literally the thing I was watching, it was a bunch of people playing 4th edition for the first time and giving their experience. I think they played for 3 hours or about that. And they felt that everything was really tanky. The players did. And then the DM was like, yeah, I halved the amount of hit points the enemies have. Like, literally just straight up halved them. Yeah. And they still thought it was tanky.
Yeah. 4th edition was very tanky, I remember. Because it's supposed to be like... Well, the thing about 4th edition is you're supposed to use a lot more, like, minions and stuff, which are just one-hit creatures.
Yeah. That's the one thing I will never fall on for 4th edition, is I think the minion rule is good. Because you can use that for supporting characters that, if you have a militia or whatever you're helping, they could have a full attack bonus or whatever, like a +3 or +5 to hit or something, but they get hit once and they're down, and then, like, maybe not dead, but you could save them later. And then, like, if you want to make a boss fight more epic in scale, you can still have that one big boss minion, or not minion, but big boss character, and then have minions. The minions, you just go up and they waste your turns, basically. But if you ignore them, they can do a lot of damage to you.
Because
they still have a full attack.
They've scaling, minion scaling. So it's like, it might only be one hit, but it's got an AC, an attack bonus, and damage that's equivalent to its level, Yeah. So it's sort of like, it's a minion, it's still deadly. Like, there are some really great things they did in 4th edition. I can never argue with that. The way that they did basic attacks for everybody, kind of like involving the cantrips and stuff. The minion system I thought was great. I actually really liked their second wind system, which I thought was very interesting, and some of the ways that they did their healing systems and stuff, too. I thought they were experimental. I don't think they were necessarily the best and needed a little work, but I thought they were interesting.
There was a lot that came out of it that you definitely see that they continued in 5th edition. They kept the good stuff.
And I think some of that lessons have even gone now to Pathfinder 2nd edition, too. Like, at least 2nd edition feel like it looked at a lot of stuff and made decisions. Again, I just feel like, the rules, I don't even know if they're more complex or less complex than 1st edition. They're just different, And I feel like their book is just terribly laid out in a lot of ways.
I mean, I remember your conversation about the initiative. It takes you like 30 minutes to explain initiative if there's people sneaking, and that's not okay.
No.
That needs to be fixed.
Well, it's like
that is a huge problem.
It's the entire idea that there are 4 different like 4 or 5 different setups for like sneaking and stuff. If no one's sneaking, it's very easy. If both parties sneaking, actually, it's very easy if both parties are sneaking. But if it's like if one group is sneaking and the other group is not, that's easy. It's if part of one group is sneaking, like someone's scouting ahead, the other part is still close enough away that they might be able to be heard, and the other group is sneaking then too, or like hiding, and then you get in these weird combinations of like parts of groups are sneaking and parts of them are not, and it's like this just explodes the game world where it worked, where it was just fine. It was just fine in 1st edition. It was really easy. It's like, are you noticed? Are you noticed? Whoever's noticed, you get to act in the surprise round. Whoever's not noticed, you get to act in the surprise round. Everybody else, you do jack shit. Everybody who works in the surprise round, you get a standard action. What you doing?
Yeah, that's
the surprise round is done. Yeah. Yeah. It was
I don't know why they tried to do that. I mean, and you have to think about, too, is when is someone not going to scout ahead? You're going to have a game, someone's going to scout ahead, it's guaranteed. That's just how things happen. You might not have a party that's going to do it all the time, but it will happen eventually.
Well, even like if it's very far ahead, it won't matter because then it's one group and one group. But what this was like, it's 2 rooms apart. Your group is in the one room. They're not being quiet, so like the other group probably knows they're there. The one character kind of is sneaking off, like quietly, like kind of, creaking open the door, kind of like looking in. These things are hiding, so they don't have really good view of the door, but they can kind of hear the other group, and they're kind of listening and waiting for the opportunity for people to walk in, because there's probably junk on the floor. So it's not like you got the one person sneaking, the other people not sneaking, and then someone like kind of like looks up behind them and gets into view of the enemies from their hiding spot. So then they launch their attack, but oh wait, we had the hiding guy in there that was kind of scouting it out, and fuck.
Yep.
Again, like, it doesn't come up a lot, but it's like when you get issues like this is where I think Pathfinder 2nd edition falls a little bit, and it kind of annoys me. But
I mean, at that point, I would just homebrew away all of that and just use the 1st edition thing and just like, I'm adding surprise rounds back into the game. Screw all this.
Because it's conditions then, too. There's a hidden and surprised condition. Why?
Yeah, that's also weird.
Why? And they're specifically used for this, but we were speaking about like compatible material and having an open game license, and it's actually really nice that now Paizo has been releasing their kind of like a list of, I don't know if it's a comprehensive list, but at least a list of compatible products. Things that are built either under their 2nd edition Starfinder or 2nd edition Pathfinder or Starfinder, and these products you can use with them. And and first edition too, because like
yeah, first edition too. That's why I thought it was when I was talking ahead. It was like, oh, there's some things for first edition too. Yeah. That's really cool. So it's first and second edition.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That's really cool. That like it's one of those things that is actually one of the things I always was really annoyed with is that like when I was back in the early days of my channel when I was still doing also my little like actual news show like Gathering the Roll where I was trying to announce all the releases for a week and then I was going to review some of them on Discussing Tabletop that were supposed to be like a sister show. I could never find 3rd edition Pathfinder stuff, at least like very decently, without going to every last one of the sites of people that do them. It sucked so badly because you have no way of looking it up. You're like, okay, I have to go to Kobold Press, I have to go to these people, I have to go to these people, I have to go to these people, and see if they released something for Pathfinder.
Right.
It's like, I'm sorry, you've had, like, even if we consider that, like, a lot of third-party stuff has been coming out for the last 5 years, maybe, you still have 5 years before you're doing this, where you're being like, hey, because these are using our core product, you might want to check some of these out. Also, it combines with our core products that you might want to see,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they were worried about competition early on.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they might, if we start showing them that, this compatible stuff's coming out, they might buy the compatible stuff instead of the stuff we're trying to release. And
I mean, you still need such a new company rulebook at least.
Right, but what I'm saying is that since they were such a new company, worrying about keeping the people who already spent the money on those, on the core rulebook, keep coming back to keep spending. Instead of going, oh, well, I like what this company's doing. I'm going to just use your core stuff and start taking it over here now.
Yoink. I'm just going to play this game now.
Yeah, I can understand there is a step off from it, but like certainly it was always one of those issues that like for especially the open licensing in 3rd edition, there was a lot of what we called it third-party stuff. I think we even called it third-party stuff like that. Like, the fact is we experimented with some of it, and it was not balanced at all. I will go to bat and say that Savage Lands, which was done by White Wolf, and it was a 3.5, 3.0 product, not balanced.
Well, just like for the longest time, anything that was GURPS. It was just like, oh god, this is going to unbalance a D&D game.
Oh yeah, because they had like the GURPS 3rd edition stuff or like releases or something. That I forgot about those, honestly. That they had some of that weird stuff like that.
GURPS came out with a lot of weird 3.0 and 3.5 stuff, and normally it would unbalance a game. It's just like you look at it and it's like, urgh.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve Jackson.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah, no, there was a lot of, like, weird books that came out during that time. Again, like, for the Savage Species, there was, like, the horse that ate horses that a paladin can have as, like, a mount instead of a nightmare that also ran...
Oh,
that had, like,
that's the horrible creature. I think you've described that before. It's
yes.
Awful.
It's the king of horses and has the ability to summon horses, but also has an appetite for horses.
Yeah,
why it summons
other
them.
Horses. It's awful.
And had like a base land speed of like, I don't know, ridiculous. It was like 160, so it's 16 miles per hour it walks at.
Yeah.
And then it was like, that's why someone who had it in a game called it DeLorean and got up to 88 miles per hour.
I could see that.
Didn't we also like buy horseshoes as Zephyr for it?
Well, horseshoes is speed, and it had the run feat because it was a mount. It could get like you could choose its feats, and then like it ran, and we could also haste it or something, and we could get it up to 88, which I think is like a speed of 880, and we're like, let's just have to cart to it and time travel.
Yeah, get out of this place. Screw this place. We're leaving. We're going to 1985. Original D&D.
It'd be even worse. But like,
it would be worse.
So like, I understand like the idea of like it's hard to get into that kind of supportive of your third party stuff, but like when you have the open game license and you're allowing it to go out there, I feel like the thing is, if people are publishing stuff under your open game license or your game license, aren't they paying something to you too? I don't know if it's completely free. I don't remember.
There might be licensing fees, because if it's like compatible with Pathfinder would be like Star Wars, right?
No.
You know, you have to have it approved or, you know, pay a licensing fee to use that name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you might not. You still might not want to. But again, it's like, yeah, I'll allow you to do that. It adds some stuff. It might, you know, people who already do stuff with you might then also pick up Pathfinder, blah, blah, but they might not want to outright, especially, like I said, in Pathfinder's early days when they were just coming up, they probably really wouldn't want to do that, because then, we need to build up our own stuff and get people buying our stuff right now.
Yeah. But now there's more options. This is also Starfinder as well, I think.
Starfinder.
Yeah.
Starfinder. Well, the thing is, I've kind of come up with a list of games that I would love to do online, but I don't know if I ever will. Starfinder's one of them. Honestly speaking, I'm going to say this: 4th edition D&D. I'd love to run like even if I don't do an entire campaign, if I would run one of their like adventures that they published online, I would love to just do it, because honestly speaking, 4th edition D&D would go really great with Roll20.
Yeah. Oh, God. So much things would be simplified.
It's the perfect system for Roll20.
Yeah.
But no, Starfinder was really fun. Me and Joe playtested it at one of the PAX Unplugs.
PAX Unplugs, yeah, 2 years ago.
It's sort of it's very similar to 1st edition Pathfinder, but I feel like they've made a lot of choices and changes enough that it's kind of like its own thing. So it was like, that was their first attempt to evolve their original game. But they did it
It's also set in space, keep that
It's
in mind.
also set in space.
If the star isn't,
it's a futuristic setting. It's supposed to be set like thousands of years after normal Pathfinder, where for whatever reason the planet Galarian has disappeared, and there's just a star station a star base that used to be around it sitting in its place. No one knows what happened to it. Like some kind of horrible like universal magic was used to make it disappear, and so it made everybody that might have been alive during that time forget about it, kind of thing. So it's like there's elves that were alive during that time. We're like, yeah, no, we don't know what happened. I have a blank in my memory for like a couple of years. It's weird.
Having played 1st edition Pathfinder, it's fine that world is gone. That world sucks.
1st edition Pathfinder world has some very nice places in it, similar to like Faerun and the Forgotten Realms, but it has some really awful countries in it too. Honestly speaking,
there's some not good places.
It's the one thing I look back on with the game I had on your channel, Grinding Gears, and kind of wish I would have actually used the Starfinder.
Yeah, the thing is, I think Starfinder, we could have recreated our characters in a different form. Like, I could have been the more traditional android, which feels like it's closer. Android is basically Pathfinder, Starfinder's version of Warforged. It really is. And, like, there's, like, the cat folk rather than Tabaxi. And there could have been, like, half-elf and gnome. We would have perfectly fit over there. There would have been monks. Because Starfinder, they say, like, oh, yeah, the Pathfinder classes and stuff are compatible, technically, Here's maybe some updates for them and stuff you'd have. They do a lot of what they did in Dark Matter for it. But we didn't think about that, because it's a very, switch in the system, and you wanted to...
Yeah, going from 5e to Pathfinder. It would have been easier if it was Pathfinder to Starfinder.
Yeah.
Because it's crazy simple at that point.
But we didn't think about it. And I didn't suggest it either. I wasn't thinking about it, too. There was a lot of, like, interesting decisions for it. But,
I mean... I could do some behind the curtains thing, but that's a whole big long discussion.
Well, it's like there's a lot of behind the curtains things about like trying to like get things and make decisions on when you're like producing a show, and then playing through how long are you going to go, what kind of ending are you going to have? Is it going to be like a year-long campaign? Is it going to be like a couple years? Is it going to be a campaign that has an ending at some point in time, but it depends on what you... Like, I have to be honest, Children of Wrath, I have no fucking idea when they're going to get to the ending. They will at some point in time. Like, I have an idea for what the ending will be. I have no idea when they're going to get there.
Oh God, we're never gonna get there. This game is gonna just go on forever.
It probably will until something happens that we really have to change things, and like we have to cancel it. Probably, unfortunately speaking.
Because our group likes to dick around way too much.
All you have to do is raise the stakes. That's it. That's all you have to do.
I've
put a time bomb.
I've technically been adding little things in now that are more like the actual story related after like a billion messages. I'm like, I'm gonna just add a few things here that are story related just to speed up things a little bit.
Our team needs a bit of a push.
Yeah.
And because we really had no idea what we were doing, we were just like, okay, we're going to be following them.
Mm-hmm.
And that was about it.
And now, Wintress's family's been threatened. Carrie's family's been threatened. Things like that. That adds in a little.
Carrie,
you're doing. This reminds me of the Cyberpunk game. You're doing all the side quests before continuing on the main story.
Yes.
All right, I'm just gonna spend the 16 hours doing every single side quest available because then I literally can't do anything until I progress the main story. Which is something I did recently.
Yep. But then, I like Records of Evil is pretty close to the end. Legacies of Kain is pretty close to the end.
The phone is close to the end.
The phone, which I'm pretty sure is... I actually can see it from here. It's in the top banister before going down the stairs. It's just sitting there. Probably my niece used it for something or delivered it to her father for something and didn't take it downstairs because...
As long as it doesn't vibrate off the banister.
Well, it doesn't vibrate. It just rings, at least.
Well, even when it rings, sometimes it will shimmy a little bit.
Could be.
Anyway,
we were talking compatibility before we got really sidetracked.
Yes.
I'm not going to go into the games here, but
there's a lot of them. Some of them look interesting if I just go by cover art.
Yeah.
Like this Amethyst Factions thing. It looks like it's a really dark, noir setting. That's cool.
And it's got some magic and technology stuff doing because again, they did do technology stuff for Pathfinder First Edition because. Spoiler, if you don't know about Galarian, there was an ancient Atlantis basically empire
ancient aliens
that basically had super technology. So you could technically find a laser gun if your DM wanted to give that to you in normal Pathfinder, and you were like, I have the magical light gun, and then it's
oh, so that magical gunslinger character I was thinking about.
No, I would not give that to you.
The magic is the gun. It's
not.
It's actually a Imperial blaster.
Yeah, so it never hits anything.
I mean, you've seen my rolls. It would never hit anything. You could give me the strongest gun ever. I'd be like, I can't hit anything with this. When I do hit, though, it'll hurt.
I've already had someone name their character Stormtrooper, so
you
have to be Troop Stormer.
Oh God, not Stormtrooper.
Stormtrooper, which
my last name. That would be my last name. Is
Stormer. You're Troop Stormer. The name's Troop.
Yeah.
Troop Stormer. Nice to meet you. I'll totally hit the broad.
With the freaking white phosphorus grenade on a homeless guy.
Yep, he did that.
Don't do that.
That was a Shadowrun game.
Yeah.
Anyway,
there's stuff. Some of them look pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's nice that they're putting out this list now. Now, granted, I don't think this is everything compatible, but they're basically spotlighting a lot of companies that are working with them. And I was looking at the open game license, and I know, I'm not sure if they actually do give some money to Paizo or not. I know that you have to send a copy of the book if you're under their license to them at very least, it seems like.
I would hope so. If you're writing something for them, you're going to give the people you're writing for the book. Yeah. Be like, this is the thing we wrote. So that they can look at it and be like, all right. As opposed to, yeah, whatever.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there is some, entire things about it that are very interesting. Trying to read the second edition compatibility license hurts my brain because I am not a lawyer. I'm like, this is a lot. This is, copyright trademark stuff and, what you can use, what's part of the license agreement, all that stuff. And it's great. It's complex. Read it before you worry about publishing for something in there.
And the next thing, I was really confused by it. because I thought it was like a book, and then I thought it was like an item, and then it's like tasked 4 hours. What?
No,
and
okay.
The cost, it's a thing. It's like a location.
They have a location sort of thing and a ritual to go along with that location. So this is a weird thing that they've done.
Ring Pond.
Yeah, this is like a very weird thing because this is like very small release of something, and I'm like, this is like tiny. There's this week's exciting the Shroud of Forced Silences, the adventure ahead of the Stone Ring Plod. Is this?
It sounds like it's from a game, possibly an adventure, or someone's like a really popular D&D game.
When I look up the Shroud of the Forced Silences, when I look this up, because they have a link to it here, it's like a chapter book. It's like part of a story that you would have like it's like the published version. It's not long. It's maybe a couple of pages. But it would be the kind of thing that I would see, like, on the Magic the Gathering, like, on their blog, the storyline stories they put out, that were written by authors that describe, like, oh, here's, like, 10 stories to go along with, or maybe not 10, like, but here's, like, 5 stories that go along with the set that we got out, that if you're a big fan of the lore and stuff, here's what's going on, Because there are people that... Yeah, which is neat, and I'm a fan of, like, Magic lore and all, like, D&D lore and stuff like that, so I'm usually reading that kind of stuff. So it's fiction. It's a story.
Yeah.
And
for the Pathfinder setting.
And they're releasing game stuff to go with it on their blog in very tiny amounts. So rather than, like, put out a PDF, combining it all once the story's done, or, like, put out, like, a lot larger, they put out, like, here's a location that you could add into things that are very, like, mystical, and here's a ritual that could be used at that location, or similar locations in your Galarian setting. Yeah. It's like, wow.
It's interesting.
It's interesting, but it's also, like, it's so tiny. It's so, like, what?
Here's a little appetizer of some stuff you could do. And, like, this is neat. Is there more of it? It's like, no.
No, there's not. I feel like it's like it's just too much, like, right there.
It's like a magic item, but it's like a major magic item, and it's also a location.
Yeah. It's a location that this kind of... Because it's supposed to be like a ritual, because I'm not perfect on rituals for 2nd edition Pathfinder. That's one of those things that I haven't really dove deep into, because I'm playing a bard anyway, and I think it's like wizards and clerics can learn these rituals, which are supposed to be like ritual spellcasting in 5th edition, except they're their own spells. That you can kind of, like, you learn these rituals and you can cast them outside of combat. Because, like, this one, Water's Prediction, it takes 4 hours. So this make them take a long time. You can cast them outside of combat. They're big spells. Things like animate objects or, like, awaken creatures or trees or stuff, That's rituals. So they're separate from your normal spell lists, And they have, like, interesting rules. Cool. You've got some waters of prediction, which I guess you need, like, water to use, because it's a pond of stuff. But, like, they're also, like, here's a location that, like, would fit in, like, I guess a druid kind of setting that would have, like, this stone ring pond, and, you know, you could do this waters of prediction in it. It's, like, neat. Okay. Nice. It's not, I don't even feel like...
It's stuff.
I feel like it's not even, like, that major or, like, important of something that you needed to have its own thing for is the thing. Like, if it was like this, if it was a big spell or ritual that related to the story, no. It was a pond and, like, divination water ritual in the story. Again, if you were going to introduce more stuff in this story, wait. Why do it now?
Yeah.
Like, if it was, because I know they've done things before where it's like a PDF pamphlet, where it's like 2 to 6 pages or something, and it has like a little bit of flavored text and then like some stuff on it, like a couple items or like a character, and it like has a little story along with it. And like if it was something like that which had a couple things and was like, here's how to introduce blah into your game, in your Pathfinder game,
Not
those
blah.
things are kind of nice. Yeah, blah. Oh, it's blah. It's a +2 blah. Watch out.
There's 3 of them. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird that it's just like, here's a thing but
that we introduced
it's
in that
neat.
story that you could totally use. And again, I'm not saying it's not neat. It really is. It's neat. It's interesting. I want, like, if I needed a thing where, like, you know, I was using a druid, a circle, or like a circle of druids, or is it a druid circle?
It'd be a druid circle.
Yeah,
druid circle, as a group that they were dealing with, and they wanted to go to them for advice. The pawn thing, it's kind of cool. It has a lot of, like, you know, style to it. Great.
Yeah. That's the one thing I really appreciate.
Why did I need to know it right now? Like, and not like in, like, when you're done your story, like a list of things that you introduced that
that
could
would
be
make more
game
sense
components.
to me too.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, now the story's done. Here are things from it that you can use.
Granted, like, I feel like with this example, they might just do these little introductions along with the stories, but I feel like it's then, like, extra stuff they're kind of throwing out, like, slowly, that...
It could be the person who's writing it is just doing it little bits at a time, because it's third party, it looks like.
It could be. Well, it's part of the blog, definitely, and...
Yeah. Well, I don't know who this Ron Lundeen is, whoever, but...
Because...
It
Mike
doesn't have,
Moreland,
like, a
the
list of
director of
people
brand strategy, is the one that's on the, like, because I found the Shroud of Four Silences the first part of it, you know, and that's they're the director of brand strategy is the one that's talking about it. It's supposed to be like
it says in the top, this location doesn't play a prominent role in either the beginning box, the troubles of whatever that place
Otari,
is,
which is supposed to be the country it's taking place in, I guess.
Yeah, or the Abomination Vaults.
Adventure
But that
Path.
doesn't mean you can't use it.
Because I think Abomination Vaults is in that area of Galarian, is what they're saying. You know, it's like all these like the beginner's box. It has its own adventure. The troubles of Otari. Well, I mean, you're in an adventure that's in the area of it, and the Abomination Vault probably is in that area too. So it's like it doesn't play a role in any of these.
Yeah, but you could totally add it, and it's like, that's fine.
And it looks
one
like
of the things that like 5th edition does that I really like is when you're like reading a spell description, for the most part, there's obviously exceptions. Everything you need to know, including like some flavor text, is in there, as opposed to just like, this is the spell, it's what it does. And then like, if there's something in there that references something else, sometimes you have to go and look in a different area to find what it's referencing, which is annoying.
I mean,
so it's all here, which is nice.
Yeah, it's nice that it's all here. It's definitely something you could use. Again, like, I feel like rituals are one of those things that's used the least, at least as I've had experience with Pathfinder 2nd Edition now. Maybe when we would get to higher levels, where, like, because it's like, this is Ritual 5, so it's like a 5th level spell, effectively. You know,
Yeah,
you're not doing that.
pretty high up there.
Yeah, you're not doing that for quite a while. So it's like, or you're looking to very powerful people, very early levels, to do it, you know?
Yeah, you could go somewhere and they could use this and help you.
Yeah. But again, like, then it's a check that, like, they're making, and we don't know if they're getting critical success, success failure, or critical failure.
Well, it doesn't say, because it says they're secondary casters. So it doesn't say you need to be a certain level to be a secondary caster. So you could have, like, an NPC leading it that has the level 5 magic or whatever, and then have some of the magical PCs, like, roll to help, probably.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think...
So then... Yeah.
I think
I believe when I looked up... Because I was looking up some of them when I was playing. And I believe, basically it's the main person has to have the ability, and they can have up to a certain number of... Or actually, I think any number of people help assisting.
I don't know.
It sounds like you need at least 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the spells will say, you know, they have to be at least level blah blah blah. Some of them will be any level.
Yeah, and I feel like,
anything about level.
Yeah, so they could be like the secondary casters could be anything. But I feel like, maybe like if you have a druid character, maybe using this one would be cool, because the druid character would be like, these circle of people, I know them. Maybe they're not part of my circle, but they're allies of it. I can go to them, and I can help cast this spell, and we can get a prediction of the future we might be able to use,
You're all dead.
Well, I mean,
again, it's neat. I just feel like it's like it's a mini release of stuff, It's again, it's a weird little thing that they're just like, hey, there's also this. If they do more of these, okay, sure, neat. Again, I just feel like throwing them out here like this, it's better just to get like a PDF or something compilation of them at some point in time.
I mean, it might be
they'll do that afterward.
Yeah, they might do it afterward.
It might be like, here's a bunch of little things, and maybe you'll get more of one at a time, and then like you'll get like a PDF that's like, here's all the things that this one writer wrote about. Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's someone apparently who, like, if I look at it, the person did do some other Pathfinder books. Lane Marcel did Night Glass, Nightblade, and Hell Knight. Ooh. Neat sounding. I don't know any of those because I've never read any Pathfinder fiction. Look, confession time. I haven't read like a tabletop based fiction in a long time. I read the Spelljammer books back in the day, and I read a few of the very early Magic novels, which were very interesting.
Okay, so I think this is done by the Ron Lundeen or whatever, and I went and looked them up, and they've been working here for a while. Since at least 2013.
Well, they say like
there's a whole bunch.
The author is Lane Marcel. They say for
really. Why are you getting different author names?
Where's it mentioned the Ron Lundeen? Is that
under the Waters of the Stone Ring?
That's he's the one that did the Power, but the person who wrote the story was the Lane Marcel.
Okay, because that person has got a lot of stuff under their belt.
Yeah, so I figure what's going on is
6
Lane Marcel is writing the story. And maybe if they want to, like, add something in that doesn't relate to the game, or they're using then Ron to, like, do this, to, like, come up with, like... Ron's like, okay, you did Waters predictions, what do I need to do to make this, like,
And make it work in the
game. Yeah, in the game. Like, it's sort of like the author writes stuff, and if they come up with something that doesn't fit in the normal game world, Ron invents it. That's not a bad idea.
Apparently he was freelance until 2017 when he actually was officially hired on.
Ooh. Now he's a big developer with them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, Waters of the Stinging Pond, the, like, Power, the Pond, or the Stone Ring Pond, I'm sorry. The Stone Ring Pond, the Power, it's cool, it's neat, you could use it in a Pathfinder game. Again, I feel like it's very limited as a PC thing. It feels much more of an NPC story thing than anything. Not a bad thing to give us it's just a little weird that they're throwing it out now.
I mean, if you had a very nature-y themed game, I think it would fit really well.
Definitely. I mean, even a thing where like you have a druid character that has a druid circle like that they're related to. You could be like, if you're going to your druid circle and it's local nearby, you get help from them somehow. Maybe this is what they do for you because they don't have like direct people to help you. I guess we should hit up our last topic, though, because...
Yeah, the last thing.
Cyberpunk...
It's not Pathfinder.
It's not Pathfinder Overwatch. It's Cyberpunk Red Combat Zone. To go along with the fact that we have Cyberpunk Red out now, and we have Cyberpunk... Is it 2077?
The game? 2077, yeah, the video game.
Cyberpunk's big in the mindset of a lot of people right now. So the company Monster Fight Club is coming out with Combat Zone, which is a skirmisher game. Skirmisher games, I think they're best described as like a kind of like one-on-one miniature kind of game, usually with a board. I believe that's the way to describe them.
I think it's board related. It's miniatures, I know that.
Yeah, miniature, and you normally need a board to play miniatures on.
Well,
you can
different...
throw miniatures at each other.
Yes. I'm saying it's different than like a What's the big one that? Pen and paper. It's the big one that everybody like paints their miniatures for.
Warhammer?
Yeah, Warhammer. Warhammer, you kind of build your own board, and it's very complex, and that is the granddaddy of insanity in miniatures games.
Accurate.
This is much simpler. It probably provides you some kind of board or way to build a board. You know, they might provide like tiles or something. Usually these type of games do. And most of the time,
minis.
Yeah, most of the time these are usually 1-in-1, but they could be multiplayer. They don't say for sure, just because they're introducing it right now.
It has plural when it says players.
Yeah.
So
players could be 2.
They don't have a link to
Plural can be 2.
Yeah.
It could just be 2.
They don't have a link to their Kickstarter yet because that's not coming out until 2021. So we don't know a lot about it yet. It's supposed to be in 2045, so it's a little bit before the 2077. It's supposed to be
But it's very much after the original game.
Yeah. It's, of course, it's Cyberpunk. I mean, like, I was actually discussing with Lightning, like, how much they brought in of Cyberpunk to Cyberpunk, the video game, and I think it's the same kind of thing here, is it's got a lot of veneer of the world more than anything, with, like, probably inklings of the game mechanics, I'm going to guess. Especially because a skirmisher game is a lot less based on, like, role-playing type stuff.
Oh,
and it's supposed to be more.
You're probably going to have, at best, like, a character, like, block that's built for you already. And it's like, you'd pick, like, this is the character stats of this person or that person, and these are what they're good at, and these are what they're bad at.
And this is what they can do in the skirmish, you know. It's probably going to be very combat-related, maybe stealth-related for some of them or something. Maybe even one of them might have, like, a hacking kind of related thing. They might do that. They could probably, in, like, a skirmish.
I think it's more just the fighting system from what I read on it.
I mean, that's most likely what it's going to be.
Most likely.
So you'll probably have, like, assault rifles, melee...
I feel like
pistols,
there's things they could introduce to, you know, later on if they keep making products for it. Because a lot of these miniatures and skirmisher games do make more products along their lines eventually.
I could see adding hacking, but I think if you were going to have a hacker type of thing, it'd probably definitely be a support kind of build.
Yeah.
And it would probably involve you being part of a team. So you'd be like the part of the support. So yeah, like you could do debuffs and things.
Yeah. So they have a game engine that there's no rounds or phases. The game just goes. I'm curious as to what the hell that means. It's supposed to be fast paced. As you get hit and wounded, your abilities degrade. So it's about striking fast and hard. Like, I'm sorry, if there's a lot of, like, simultaneous turns or non-turn based things, that doesn't always work well, and it can definitely...
It might literally just be you have a move and an action, and depending on what character you're playing, dictates your actions.
Yeah.
And then, like, how hurt you are affects how easy it is to do certain actions. Like, there's a penalty system.
And the thing is, like, is it just going to be one-on-one, or like one person you have that character? Is it going to be you have a team of characters? They talk about cyber-enhanced gangs vying for the streets. So would that mean it's like maybe you could be multiple players, but you're each taking on members of the different gangs? And you really want to be like even matched or something? I don't know. There's a lot of questions I have for this, for the system, rather than the world. You know,
the world's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah,
really.
it's Cyberpunk, which is fine. Cyberpunk is fun. I like.
Hey, Cyberpunk was the first role-playing game I ever played.
Yeah, Cyberpunk is the first one Joe played. Cyberpunk Red, Lightning was talking to me a little bit about the rules of it. It sounds like it's a fine RPG. Cyberpunk 2077, if you have a PC version or a next-gen system version, you're fine to go. Do not get any of the first-gen or the last-gen system of the games. That's my suggestion on that one, because apparently those are bugged with
you can't get the
PS4 version
PlayStation 4 anyway right now, because it's a total recall.
Well, it's like, again, like, I think it's one of those things that a lot of news groups fail to say, is like that the problems with Cyberpunk 2077 are really the last-gen stuff they're talking about 95% of the time. Mm-hmm. Not the PC version, not the PlayStation 5 or Xbox, whatever they call it now.
I have, like, slightly above min-spec PC for the game, and I get pretty solid 30 to 40 FPS, very playable at those frame rates, which... a lot of games, when you start dropping into those low frame rates, become unplayable.
Yeah.
So I'm really impressed that my computer can play it as well as it does. Mm-hmm. And I've had very, very little bugs, and none of them have really been game breaking. Maybe I'm lucky, but that's kind of the impression I get with the PC version. Is it's pretty good.
Yeah,
That's good. That thing is.
That's what I was reading too. The PC version was completely fine. The Xbox version came fine. For whatever reason, there was problems with PlayStation.
Holy crap! Okay, no. Because they have apparently this group, Monster Fight Club, has like scenery things that you can set up that are like really nice looking. Oh my god! If you look at their gallery, if they did something like this, Cyberpunk Red, just Metropolis, Ice Wilds, and then just the monster scenery. So it comes in it's like pieces you get, and you probably could build your own scenery. There's collections of stuff that you'd have to paint. Unpainted, it still looks like looks nice. So it's like rocks, trees, items, and you can just build your things really nicely. The Metropolis one looks really cool looking, and I'm like, wow, you have build your own city shit.
There's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them. I honestly speaking, saying that, they have a miniatures collection. I wouldn't be surprised with their skirmisher game that they might come out with another scenery thing to go along with it, Future City. I would not be surprised. Just apparently they can do that. They're very good at doing miniature scenery kind of areas. That's kind of neat.
Yeah.
It's an interesting company to do it then too. I'll tell you that. I don't know a lot about miniatures companies, but so.
I mean, it looks like that's where they specialize in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I will say very much so. It's one of those things that I don't think we talk about as much here on the show anyway, are really heavy miniatures based games like these skirmisher games, or the big things like Warhammer, because I will not even touch that with a 10-foot pole when I want to talk about that. I have no idea where to go with talking about things that are happening in that. I don't.
What about a 20-foot pole?
There's only one person I know that does stuff with that, and I don't know if he'd want. Well, Kevin, we know him. I haven't talked to him about it, but I was saying that we talk about online that I could even invite. I don't know if Ollie would want to come on board and talk about it, because I know he paints a lot of Warhammer stuff.
Yeah, he runs games too. I think he does the 40K, which is the future version, because there's two different versions of Warhammer. There's the classic, which is medieval magic
Fantasy,
and stuff, and there's 40K, and I think he does that. Yeah, I mean that when you were talking about that was the first person I thought of too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've that's one of those things I've listened to people talk about the lore, including Ollie talking about it, but full blown here's an hour-long video where they talk about one thing, and it's that is insane, and it's a really interesting world, but because it's primarily a miniatures game, it has a really high barrier to entry, unlike a traditional tabletop game where it's you buy this book, you can play the game now.
Yeah.
That's why I'll always.
The only way I would ever do it would probably be on tabletop sim or something.
Yeah, which is maybe illegal technically, depends on the rules. It's
tabletop sim, I think, skirts a line a lot of times with the way they do things, because technically speaking, which is really the weird part of it, 95% of the games you find on there are actually just mods, and because they also offer them for free, they skirt a line.
Yeah, because technically, if you're not selling something, and this is copyright law here, and don't take anything I say as legal advice. Just but with copyright law, there is, if you are trying to monetize it or if it is damaging to the original IP, are the two big stipulations. If you do not have a selling license, that's illegal, and if what you're doing doesn't it detracts from the original owners, that is also technically bad. But I don't know if a 3D version would really detract that much, because being that it's a very miniatures and physical based game, if you went and played it, you're oh wow, some of these things are really great. A lot of those people would probably be more inclined to buy them after experiencing it a little bit.
Well, it's like tabletop sim, to argue for it. It's like the difference between that and I think what it was the Metroid 2 remake people were doing on their own. The thing about that that I think got really more shut down because, like, it's if I'm using that as an example, because also, like, though they are not monetizing it, I don't think they were. There were other people that could take it and monetize it, kind of thing. Also, while tabletop
but it's
sim,
also
if someone
it's
makes,
also a full game.
Yeah, it was also a full game. Tabletop sim, they're making a mod which has to be used within tabletop sim to work. You know, so it's also like it's a game within the game, which the game itself is just about playing some basic tabletop, and probably it has most of the time it's like you have chess or checkers or stuff like that. That's like you can do that. Plus, also if people put out these mods for it, you can also play them on there. Blah 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 blah. You know, there's a lot of skating lines about a lot of stuff when it comes with the copyright stuff. So
yeah, but it's like if someone was like, I'm gonna make a Fallout 5, but it's a mod or a standalone game. Yeah, you can't do that. Now, if you were like, I'm going to make a mod for Fallout 4, which changes everything, and I'm going to call it, Fallout 4, Red for whatever, that's totally fine because it's using their thing. You are not creating its own. Like, if you went and made a tabletop sim that was just for 40K miniature battles, you can't do that.
Well, it's like I've been hesitant on using Cockatrice on streaming because I know Cockatrice is a tabletop play or a card game simulator. It does a lot of different card games, but if I wanted to play Magic online with the decks I build, I can program in the Cockatrice, the decks I design and I built. The thing is,
isn't there 2 Magic the Gathering card games online? Because there's Magic the Gathering Arena.
And then Magic Online.
The thing about Arena is it only has modern cards, and it's only been since they put out those are the cards they have. The thing about Online is they have all the cards, but the problem is I've tried to build.
You have to rebuy them all.
You have to own them in Online in order to use them in a deck online, even if you're playing with your friends.
Yeah, that's pretty oof.
So, like, I can design the deck that I have in Online, but I did that. But I couldn't use it ever because I don't own any of the cards.
Technically.
Yeah,
that's really double dipping.
Yeah.
that's kind of...
Yeah. That's why, like, I mean, Arena is good for what it is. It's definitely more...
The one thing is nice with Arena is you don't have to buy anything. You can earn stuff a lot easier than...
But I compare that to, like, a mobile game of, like, grinding.
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying it's great, but I'm saying it was better than Online. You had to just buy everything.
Yeah, you really...
There was no freebie earning stuff.
If you bought them online and they also, like, for extra money shipped you those cards, like you pay a shipping...
There was a way to do it. That would be
a lot better.
There was a way to do it, but it was hard to do. And it still technically exists.
If you collect an entire set online... You can redeem it for a set in real life.
But the thing is, you lose them online then.
Yeah. Oh, that's stupid. That's just dumb. Mm-hmm. Anyway, the Cyberpunk Red. It's a new thing, and there's a miniature version coming out.
we got really sidetracked on that one. That was like 7 degrees of sidetrack there.
I mean, we were talking about miniatures, then we were talking about companies
and Warhammer and stuff.
Yeah, and the games.
I was gonna say those. I think I was gonna say one of the comments I was gonna give is for miniatures game. I always did like the D&D miniatures they put out along with 3.5 and 3rd edition because I could not only do the miniatures game, which was pretty fun, but if I wanted to put up a board, I had these miniatures then for D&D. It was double dipping, and that's the difference between Warhammer is like they're very unique, and I could theoretically use them for a game, but then I would have like cyberpunky look. Like if I'm using 40K, I might have like Space Dwarf. Am I using a Space Dwarf in my game?
You have Power Armor Man.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's not really gonna work in other settings.
Yeah. Or like, I feel like the original setting is much more Renaissance, isn't it? More too feeling. So it's like got pistols and stuff. Because
I don't know if the fantasy
because didn't they have
guns.
I think they did because wasn't there the game that wasn't the 40K, That was the one where you did hordes of Skaven. That was like Left 4 Dead.
Oh, I mean, it'd be Warhammer Fantasy, I think.
Warhammer Vermintide.
Because there's the fantasy version. There's two Warhammers. The 40K, which is the future, and then fantasy,
which was Vermintide and Vermintide 2. Vermintide 2 is the game that came out, which I did end up... I think I got that as part of like a bundle of stuff or something at some point in time. I can't remember. But that one is like... It's like a Left 4 Dead, except like what you're fighting is the rat people.
Age of Sigma, I guess.
Yeah.
Would be the current version.
The people in that have like, you know... I thought they had like pistols and stuff or something. It might have been crossbows, but they had like ranged weapons too. I
mean, I don't know. You start talking about Warhammer stuff, and
I thought it was very much more. It wasn't like medieval fantasy. It was like Renaissance fantasy. It felt like, is what I'm saying. So that's like it's even different than like a D&D, because D&D feels like maybe late medieval age, early Renaissance. If we're talking about time periods with some of the stuff they do, you know, especially when you're talking about like.
Okay, there are gunslingers apparently. The Skaven, I guess, have guns or something. Yeah, it looks like black powder.
Yeah, it's the age of black powder, so it's Renaissance mainly. Feels more like, but yes. So, I mean, anyway, getting back to it, a Cyberpunk skirmishers game, really cool. It's a miniatures game, neat. We'll know more about it later when it comes out. I think maybe Joe and I will chat more about it when we learn more about it again, just to see like, you know, hey, cool, the Kickstarter's out, you know, we can talk about it a little bit more, and we know more about what their format's going to take, because I'm really curious as to if they're just having the veneer of it, or if they're taking more in, because I think with a product that's based on a tabletop line, I know like there's a certain balance of how much you can add in of the tabletop. Like I was like you and I were talking about a couple days ago with Cyberpunk 2077. The type of game it is, you can't bring a lot of the role-playing system into that type of game because it's a first-person action game, you know?
Yeah. There's a certain amount of like a percentage or whatever that you can bring in, and this goes for a lot of tabletop games, like Baldur's Gate 3, for example, right? With 5th edition, I think it's one of the easier things to gamify.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk, I think, is less so, just by how it's got a lot going on. Kind of a little bit like with Pathfinder, though. You know, Pathfinder be using the D20, you could kind of use the same argument like with Baldur's Gate.
It's like different types of games. Like Baldur's Gate is like a Divinity type game. It works pretty well with their system. It's sort of like, I think, original Pathfinder, if I compare that for like how they did Kingmaker, which is more of like a kind of action strategy game to a degree. It worked pretty well translating there. You know, your characters still level up, they fight monsters, you know, there is an aspect of the game, in the tabletop game, in the game there, definitely, and it fits very well. Like, you get new abilities, you level up, blah, blah, blah. That works there.
The biggest difference is in those two games. In the Baldur's Gate 3, it actually drops into a turn-based mode. Yeah. And I think with Kingmaker, it has a pause feature.
Yeah.
So it plays in real time, and you can pause. You can like queue up actions.
Yeah.
Which I think Neverwinter Nights did as well.
Yes.
You could queue up actions.
Yeah.
Pause. You couldn't pause if you were playing online, but you could pause if you were doing single player, or if you had pause enabled if you were hosting one of the campaigns, because you could technically multiplayer the campaigns. Biggest difference with Cyberpunk 2077, there's no pause.
Mm-hmm.
You can get time slowdown, sort of. So you kind of can't have that, oh, my turn is this and I do that. So you're losing a lot just by having to be a first-person shooter, like with no pause or anything like that. Or the other games are more traditional, like in the you can have pause.
Again, it's the type of game you're creating is how much you can bring into it. You can easily bring in world settings. That's not something I'll ever complain about. Like, if someone does a world setting of one of these games pretty decently, great. You know, that's something you can recreate. It's just that, like, some game settings, like, I will not, like, I agree with you. Cyberpunk 2077, they probably brought in as much of the actual Cyberpunk game as they could, you know? like you were looking at it, and you've got stats which they're not the same stats, but they're relatively similar to the stats in the like tabletop game. You know,
Yeah,
like some of them are
they
combined and stuff.
simplified a lot of the stats, I think, because like in the Cyberpunk Red tabletop one, there's like 8 stats you
Like,
can have,
There's a bunch of them, yeah. And there's like,
and in the video game you have 5. I think it's 5.
mm,
So they've rolled a lot together, but there's also sub things under that where it's like, oh, well, body, it's, you know, your hit points, and then like how good you are at like punching somebody. So they have like sub things under it, and I think that is just kind of a video gamey thing.
Yeah.
That you just find in a lot of those games where it's never going to be a 1-to-1 conversion,
no,
and
No, you can't.
it really shouldn't be.
but I'm interested to see how much they do with Combat Zone, how they can recreate things too, because I feel like I think the best way is like if they provide you with a character with like a kind of character sheet that probably has a simplified game version of stats for that character sheet for whatever your miniature you're using, that would make sense. Then you know you have your like. You have your like body and all your stuff there, and they determine your actions they have. You know,
I mean, you clearly have hit points because it's talking about how as you take more damage, it'll be harder to do things. So you want to be as deadly and as fast as possible.
Yeah. So it probably
so you have at least hit points.
Yeah, and probably has like a penalty system similar to something like Shadowrun or World of Darkness.
Yeah.
The more damage you take, the penalties you get.
Yeah.
So, but no, we'll be able to see more how much they're like recreating it and how much they're just like having the veneer of it. Again, it's not terrible to just have the veneer of it too. It's just that like I usually like when they're doing something that they have a little essence of the original game. Like the D&D miniatures game back when it came out, it was just simple 3rd edition or simple 3.5. That's all it was. It was just like they provide stats. You roll a d20. You roll a d20 for everything. You know, that was it. So like roll a d20. Okay, it does some stuff. You know, that was it. It was incredibly simple.
I think the best thing, I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to do or should do, but I think the best thing would be to try and stick it as close to the Cyberpunk Red rules as possible, because that helps promote the other game, and you can kind of have some go-between. Now, if that's what they're doing, I don't know.
We'll just have to see. Again, it's a good time to be putting it out. It's the Cyberpunk hype time, you know. Red is out, 2077's out. It's a good time to kind of look to that kind of thing, you know. That comes back to how many people know that 2077 is based on a tabletop game?
More than one.
I know.
Yeah, I did.
The three of us know.
Yeah, but you know.
I mean, if we're familiar with the Cyberpunk tabletop game to begin with, you will know. But other than that,
I think I mean
look it up and then see. Oh, there's something else with this.
Yeah, it's like what The Witcher did, right? The Witcher was mostly successful. I think it didn't get really hugely popular until the 2nd and 3rd game. But like because that existed, people were like, "Wait, these are based off books." And so people went and bought the books, and the book sales were like crazy. And I think Cyberpunk's going to do the same thing. People are going to look at it and go, "Oh, it's based off the Cyberpunk Red, which is based off of Cyberpunk 2020. And if you want like a more up-to-date version, or if you like the older stuff, you know, you can kind of be like, oh, well, it's all the same setting. It's just rules.
The Witcher just made me. The Witcher just made me think of the Witcher Inception that might cause. Now, granted, if someone watched the Netflix series of Witcher, they might go to the book series. How many people would watch the Netflix version of Witcher that maybe never did any of the other stuff and be like, this is a video game, and go back to the video game, and then like, this is a book series, and go back to the book series?
Yeah. So you're probably going to get something like that with Cyberpunk if the hype holds out. But like, I've enjoyed the game a lot, and I would really love to play in the tabletop one, because I really enjoy tabletops. You have 100% control of your character. Maybe it's just a little offline game, play a couple of sessions, just get a feel for the rules and how things play out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm super interested in playing Cyberpunk Red.
Yeah.
I like I said, Cyberpunk was my first intro into gaming, so I always have a soft spot.
personally, like, again, like, I cut my cloth when I cut my cloth into both of them. I hit Cyberpunk and Shadowrun like right at the same time. That's why, like, I was always much more of a enjoyer of fantasy. That's why I've always preferred Shadowrun over Cyberpunk. But both are really cool systems. I can't argue with that. You know.
I mean, they're very similar.
It's the one thing. They have similarities. Like, if we talk about the older systems, they were very close. They were like some similarities.
That's what I'm saying. The original systems.
Yeah, they were very similar systems to each other. They had like some similarities. I think they were both D6 systems. Was maybe why. I can't remember.
Yeah.
The original Cyberpunk was like, I'm talking like freaking 90s maybe.
And they also are similar genre.
Yeah, I mean they're Cyberpunk is a setting, and Shadowrun is a Cyberpunk setting. It just also has magic. It's a bit more of the fantasy side because there's like extra races and stuff, and it's not just human stuff. So there's other things about this show. Usually I'm not on this side of the table.
Yes, yes, we should get into them. Thank you for pushing us, just because I was going to look up something related to what we were talking about, and I'm like, oh fuck, look at the time.
You guys have played games.
We did play games, a few of them,
and talk about them.
We're gonna. Did you look up a Kickstarter? I'm skipping the Kickstarter for me. So like, let's just skip Kickstarter.
I couldn't find anything good right now.
Look, let me put it this way. When, like, the best topics I could find were a list of, like, 4 Pathfinder topics, you know it's not a great week for topics sometimes. They were fun to talk about, but it wasn't variety.
I mean, it was almost 2 hours of us talking about friggin' Pathfinder. I mean, at least an hour of Pathfinder, possibly 30 minutes of Cyberpunk.
Yeah, like an hour and a half of Pathfinder, 30 minutes and some side notes. So, let's see here. We had oh Jesus, I didn't have Pathfinder 2nd edition. The thing about the Pathfinder 2nd edition, I think I've kind of been talking about a little bit about this, is we don't know what we're necessarily going to do. One of the people who's a newer player, he's got 2 big complaints. One, he's a very busy schedule, so he can't put everything behind it. You know, he's like finishing up a degree. You know, he's switching jobs. He's been having to work a lot for his jobs, and he's been doing, I forget, there was something else he was doing. So he's very busy, very tired. And then, like, honestly speaking, are having to spend like 20 minutes looking up a rule for something sucks. I mean, if I sat down and read the entire Pathfinder 2nd edition book, I might be better, but the fact is like, it's 200 pages, and it's hard for me to sit down and read through 200 pages and not go through the basics.
You got other games you're running.
Uh-huh.
And this one you're not running. That's not your responsibility.
Yeah.
I don't trust our person in charge of it to read through everything, though. She will not.
That's unfortunate.
She's okay at the rules, but she is not great at the rules.
Very true.
And if you're not careful, she will make decisions which will technically bend the rules in weird ways. And I'm like, don't make house rules that are weird house rules before we know like what the bases are. If you want to simplify it after we know what it is, just don't make random house rules, please.
Or chalk codes.
I don't think I had either of the games this week. Did I? No.
We had our game.
I had your game.
We didn't have Carrying Crown either.
I missed records because we were down 2 people. I think Worm might have had an appointment, and then or Jess was something going on with her, and then apparently Jinx, her phone completely died, and she was reliant on her phone to use for a alarm, so she overslept. But she's had an awful sleep schedule lately, so that's why we were hoping moving to 1 in the afternoon would fix that. Apparently, sometimes it does not. You know, and also when your phone dies and you rely on that for your alarm. I've been there, where you're like, I should have woken up. Oh, wait, my phone's not on. Yeah, that explains why it didn't yell at me to wake up.
I've had many times where I go into the house and, where have you been? It's like, where I've always been. It's like, we messaged you, all day. It's like, oh, my phone probably died. Yeah, I need to charge that. It's really hard to get a hold of me if you don't have the internet or my phone number.
Yeah. And then Tuesday... Oh, why didn't we have it on Tuesday? I can't for the life of me remember.
Because of tacos.
Oh, a lot of people weren't feeling well. I think it was just that. It was just a lot of people weren't feeling well. I remember now, like, we were had like Carpe, his wife wasn't feeling well, so we was gonna be helping her out. I think she was like, you know, relaxing, and then like a couple other people weren't feeling well, and so we just kind of called it there. And then I think Thursday was just we were down on people too. Like
I thought you did Thursday.
We did
Tuesday.
Thursday.
I mean Wednesday. Karen Crown.
Yeah, Wednesday. With Karen Crown, a lot of the people showed up, but like there was a little bit of BSing, and then like one of them was like, I probably need to do other things, and there was some like tired, like I don't know if I could focus.
We had three of us, and a fourth one joined, but one of us had to leave early. That was one of the original three, and the one that joined late was technically probably not in for it because, you know, like stressful light shift and stressful light shift combined, you know. So yeah, he did not sound very awake. So we were like, I don't think we'll be playing for like an hour here before the other person came in.
Because like we already fluffed the last time we were playing with like, hey, we're not with the full party, so let's just have a little RP. And then it's like, well, we pretty much did all the talking part. Now it's time to continue the adventure.
Granted,
let's not do it with 3 people.
One of the persons wasn't there for that, or technically 2 of the people, because one of them was on a break for like a month for like seasonal work. But still,
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but
Our
like
Valkyrie.
our Valkyrie. But like even like without the one, like I feel like having them there for like RPG fluff would have helped. But you know, I feel like it fixed some of the problems with the core group of like, you know,
what? There's no problems with the core
Zoram,
group.
Ling,
Totally
B, and Anne. You know, it reinforced their part of the group. And then we did do Children of Wrath, so I think that's the only game I've actually done this week, is Children of Wrath.
I mean, I was in my Shadowrun game on Friday.
Ooh, nice.
We spent 3 hours planning.
Sounds like Shadowrun.
That was it.
That in fact sounds like Shadowrun. I've been there for 3 hours of planning because I think there was 9 hours of planning in Legacies of Kain for like the one heist they were going to do. It was like
the problem
2 or 3 sessions.
The problem we're having right now is it's like a 10-story or 11 technically because it's a basement floor, like building, like not skyscraper technically, cause I think but it's a multi-floored thing. There's multiple objectives on multiple floors. Technically, some of them are optional, and so we're like trying to cover all the bases, and then like at the very end of the session, it's like, wait a minute, we forgot this one thing, and that may or may not invalidate all the previous days of planning. So it's like,
ouch.
Oh god, no. And my character, because we have a very small party, so like we're all like very specialized at what we do, and I'm like the infiltrator / sneak / combat character. And there's some stuff that's going to happen in the building that will be super negative on my character, who is the one who needs to go into the building. Uh-oh, Tantus is frozen. No.
I'm just listening. And being like,
frozen
wow.
for a minute. Yeah, so it's like we have this mage who's like, I go and scout things, and then we have a technomancer who is, I go into Matrix and scout things, and I go, I don't know what I can do. I'm a very physical person. I can go and look at the building, I guess. So it's really weird to have. And I don't know if it's our DM or the game. I mean, honestly, I think our DM is great. It's Plex who's jamming for us.
Okay.
And it's just more of, I don't know what I can do as a sneak character when 2 other characters are just like, I astral project and get all the information, or I hack their computers and get all the information. There's not a lot of like legwork for me to do. So it's like, I'm really good at the things that I'm good at, but like it's more of, you really only need me when it's, you know, action time.
Yeah.
So it's weird.
I was gonna say, like, you sassed the crap out of me for my big description of an epic city.
I did. That's what I did that. Yeah.
Oh god.
Because I mean, I don't know what I was doing, but I had like the game, the show up, and I was doing something else, and I was just thinking to myself, Tantus has been talking for like 2 hours straight.
It wasn't that long.
It was a long time.
I was doing
just
like this like epic description.
It was
of the
like
city.
20 minutes.
Yeah,
I mean, it felt like it was way longer than that. Because there was like, here's some role play with the characters interacting, and then it's like, you go to this place. Because there was some really cool, like when Radiant was being depressed, I guess.
Yeah.
And there was a little bit of cool character interaction there. And then it was like, oh, you need to go. I'm going to stay here and hang out with the totally canon Fox person I met. That, yeah.
Totally canon.
And then like left to this place, and it was just like a big description of this city and what it was so much talking, my brain just turned off. It's just kind of like, how long has this description been going on? It's like, it's a building. It's really fancy.
Well, no, he was describing the whole city, basically.
Yeah,
I was describing
like,
your entryway.
That's a lot of stuff to describe.
I was trying to describe the entryway into the city and like the epic city and all the stuff that's related to it and your travels into it and what's going on there and stuff and trying to.
I feel like there is a certain level that you need to reach, and once you reach that, it's like, this is all the information the characters need. And if there's like the characters want to probe more, you can add on to that, or you can kind of go a step beyond. And you're like, all right, here's the minimum information, and I'm just gonna throw that away and give all the information. It's like, that's a lot of talking. It was a lot.
I can't argue with that. It was a lot, being like, I don't know how long it was technically. I could probably measure it out.
I mean, I can go check the VOD. it was
a good, like, 20 minutes solid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was zoning out a little bit there.
Yeah, I can see that, unfortunately.
It's like, yes, we get there in the city. Can we actually do something?
Mm-hmm. I saw it, and the viewer like, that's why I made the comments like, and this is just Tannis talking for 3 hours, just nonstop. Because that's what it felt like. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm there for.
Talking.
I'm here to sass.
You are here to sass
today,
very often.
You get it in person. You get in-person sassing.
Or
face sassing, I guess.
Face sassing.
Yeah.
Face sassing. It's like face off, except sassing.
Yeah. Face sassing.
Only Claude can do face off.
Mm-hmm. Face off. But can you actually pull it? No. Anne can only do face off because she can physically. She physically had a removed face.
Yeah, I don't know where we got that face. We had a face.
It was part of someone. It was, if you really want to, it was part of Vorstag's disguise.
That's right.
Because remember, he like
a horrible.
Yeah.
People are just evil in our Carrying Ground.
Yeah, he totally removed.
Was that the same one where I at one point had gnomish armor made out of gnome?
No, that was Madness of the Land because it wasn't really made out of gnome. It was made out of people. So you found people armor. It was armor.
The one time you ran it, I was playing gnome and you're like, yeah, this one's actually made out of gnomes.
I might have joked that. I don't think it really was, but I might have joked it.
I was like, yes, I'm wearing my own people.
I think that was the joke. But
yeah, holiday times, it makes it hard to run games because some people have lives.
I mean next week I have no idea. I think the only one that I know is that I'm gonna definitely be off for is Thursday, but Thursday I might be doing a holiday one shot because Fish was nice enough to send me a link to one because I was thinking of maybe doing something holiday.
Yeah, something about Santa Claus or something.
I made jokes about Santa Claus and his dragons, but he was like, I have a holiday one shot. And I'm like, I might do this one because it's less convoluted than me making up one.
Oh,
Santa
Claus and his dragons.
I might add that in. You just like, I'll see these the sky lights up towards the end, and you hear ho ho ho, and it's
ho.
No. Santa is Tiamat. All the heads, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Santa Tiamat brings you forth fire and death.
Tiamat's pulling the sleigh.
Yeah, I guess that could work too, but then who's Santa? One of the Lords of Hell? No,
sure.
she's in the Abyss.
Okay. No. She was in the first layer of Hell, I thought.
Was it Hell? I thought she was in the Abyss.
She might have moved.
She might have moved. I went to a warmer location.
No, they're both fiery, probably.
Check our new location.
No, this one's warmer than the old one.
She's in one of them because I know Loth or whatever is like in
Lost
the Abyss.
Abyss. Lost is definitely Abyss.
Yeah, so maybe Tiamat is in Hell and Loth is in the Abyss.
Maybe.
Drow are evil.
She moved. I'm not sure. I can't remember which it was at all. It was one of the things.
I don't remember how to spell Tiamat.
It's easy. Just spell it like it sounds.
I found it. Okay. Let's see.
Now I'm curious. As we live look up
Tiamat. Anyway, we should probably end it there. Probably around here. We can worry about this stuff later and Tiamat and the Abyss and stuff.
Yeah,
and
you person who are watching it and who managed to stay to the end of our ridiculous 2 hours thing. You can go and check it out and find out where they actually live, because we don't know, apparently.
Yeah, because apparently I can't remember for the life of me where the hell she lived. Oh, she had an Archdevil title at one point in time.
So that sounds like a hell thing.
She was banished to the 9 hells.
Oh, she was 9 hells. She was on the first
She
layer.
used to live. Yeah, she used to live on the prime material plane, but she was banished to the 9 hells.
She laid on Avernus on the 9 hells, known as Tiamat's lair. Why are you mostly naked? Go get clothes on.
Well, that's when we end the stream.
I thought you were talking about Tiamat.
Yeah, I mean, I was
Aurora,
too.
go. I'm on stream still.
Why is Tiamat mostly naked?
I mean, I was gonna say,
Bye, I love you.
Up
You're
there,
a dragon.
Go get like a shirt on at least.
No, never.
Aurora, go now.
No, never.
Aurora. Aurora, I'm serious right now. Go.
This
I
is
mean,
serious.
Tiamat's
You go, girl.
normally naked. So.
Just
I know, you want to hiss at
very
me.
scaly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Be good, girl. Bye. Love you.
Anyway, you have outros that you
Yes,
can do.
I have outros. Go take the phone downstairs.
Chaos.
Yeah. Outros. Lightning, you want to outro anything? I don't know.
I
Maybe?
mean, I'm not in any games that are streamed anymore. You have to bring me into a stream game if you
I
want me
do have to bring you
outro.
to stream game at some point in time. Then Joe, what do you have to outro?
Doing nothing next week other than Chris Holiday stuff.
Yay!
I might end up joining you for your Thursday thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I think what I will do is...
I gotta call my parents. My plans probably are gonna change because of how bad Corona is right now.
Yeah.
I'll be in a different location on Thursday, temporary location.
Ew.
Because I have to go take care of plants and animals because people will be on vacation for 2 weeks.
So you got
So I have to move.
Yeah. You're basically house sitting. Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
What
my
about
computer
animal
weighs like 100 pounds. It's gonna suck.
Yep, and as for myself, Dracovin, I'm for games, Records of Evil, Monday at 1 p.m., Legacies of Kain, Tuesday at 2 p.m., Children of Wrath, 8 p.m. on Thursdays, probably the games that I'll be streaming this week, a little bit more Solaris. I basically killed myself twice with Snowing Shovel because I hate it, and I'm in really
Snowing
bad shape.
shovel?
Shoveling snow.
You said
I have
snowing
been there.
shovel.
I might have
I
done that.
lived in Wyoming for like 10 years, and it snows there.
So that's why, like, on
Spoilers.
Thursday afternoon and Friday afternoon, I was like, I don't feel like streaming now because I wanted to just sit around and, like, relax and have my back not go, ow, 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 you're in pain, ow, ow, ow.
I just had to brush off the cars and chip the ice off.
Uh-huh.
Because that's the nice part about living in an apartment complex. Is
I mean,
they
it
plow
rains here.
and shovel for us.
It's just crazy rain.
Yeah, I had to dig to a car and then dig out 2 cars, and then I had to dig out a front the rest of the way. It was partially done, and dig out a 3rd car yesterday, and my back was already in really bad shape at that point in time, still from the previous day. It had not recovered. So that
and
was
also
pleasant.
on Saturdays, you can come back to this channel for discussing tabletops.
Exactly.
I'm not usually here
No,
unless
special
I get
guest.
invited.
He gets a guest
Yeah.
invited if there's a topic that I feel like he could join in with. That would be fun to join in with, like
What about
Pathfinder
table bottoms?
and Cyberpunk stuff. So occasionally he will show up and join us, and other guests will occasionally show up and join us, or other adventures and stuff. And I'm probably streaming some gaming during the week. Expect it to be announced. I think Stellaris.
I am excited to see you play Parasite Eve because you talked about
I
that.
will definitely be doing that around Christmas because I'm not going anywhere on Christmas. So I'm either going to be doing it on Christmas Eve or actual Christmas because I will probably, as I did with Thanksgiving, have a Christmas meal with my family probably in the evening and therefore have a lot of time to kill after the slight gift opening in the morning for my niece, pretty much, mostly. And then maybe, like, some small gifts between the rest of us. And then it will be like, well, good Christmas, good Christmas. It'll be done.
Christmas for older people is different when you're young. It's weird to remember how Christmas and like birthdays and everything were like, when you were, in the single digit and teenager, and then you're like a 30-year-old adult and you're like, it's just another day.
Well, it's just like, I don't really need my.
Well, look.
Yeah.
What can I get you? It's like,
if things weren't
buy me
bad,
a video card. I need it for Cyberpunk.
Yeah, if things weren't bad, you know what Christmas would be? An excuse to have my aunt and my mom's side of the family cook food for me. That's about it.
It's a social gathering when you get older, to be around family and stuff.
I would be barely around them. I would show up, probably either like watch my phone or do something on my phone or read a book or do something in one of the other rooms. Eventually, go to get food, show up when there's some like shared gift givings between the various family members, mostly to the children, and then call it a day. I will be antisocial.
I'm a little antisocial, but I grew up very social, and then I realized that my brain doesn't like being social, and I function a lot better when I'm not around people.
Mm-hmm.
Yay!
Not people.
I'm a social person.
Yeah.
But
anyway, that's it.
That's it.
Come back for more stuff later.
I might be back later on today if I feel like something and decide a good decision of something. Otherwise, maybe something tomorrow. Definitely Monday. And definitely next week at the same time and same place for more adventures, at least with me and Joe. So see us back then next time. Bye. Farewell.
Bye.